Hi, everyone. So, welcome to tonight's podcast. This is the Life Force podcast where we hold space for transformation, healing, and we speak raw truths. So, I'm Lindsay, and today's episode, or tonight's episode, is hopefully going to move you in a way that words can't fully capture. And if you have been following me on Instagram and Facebook this week's theme has been on using pain and transforming that into power. So, on tonight's episode, we're going to dive in to the realm of sound therapy, emotional alchemy, and plant medicine. And we're going to talk around how these ancient tools are helping modern souls reclaim their power from the grip of life in general, traumas, and raw emotions. So tonight I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming on Pam Sanders, who absolutely embodies the work that she does. Every time I'm with Pam, it's like I've received a little sprinkle magic of fairy dust. So, Pam, welcome to the show.
Hello, Lindsay. Thank you for having me here. What a lovely introduction. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Pam, I've kind of got to know you through various different things. And I've had the absolute pleasure of having you at the hub and experiencing what it is that you do. And I think after the last session that we had, I was like, oh my God, everyone needs to experience this. It was just absolutely phenomenal. So before we even go into that, Pam, can you share a little bit about yourself and what were the first whispers or wake-up call that kind of moved you towards kind of sound therapy and plant medicine?
So, combining the two, I think, well, I mean, I know we're all on this kind of journey at the moment and we're all kind of coming back to ourselves. We're all noticing more, about our history, about our pain body and about traumas and things that we've been through. And I think we're all taking ownership for that and we're all kind of evaluating ourselves in this time, and trying to fix a lot of the things, a lot of generational traumas as well that have come down the family generations. And so I think it's in this kind of time, this day and age, where we're all kind of just standing up and thinking, right, how can we remedy, and how can we be better people? How can we help bring up our children? How can we help them, And I think just with a lot, I mean, I've had quite a tricky kind of life, I guess. And I've always kind of been on this path of pulling myself forward, trying to take control and ownership of my own mental health a lot of the time, in a lot of the things that I've been through. But I've always been more natural. I've always kind of sidesteps pharmaceuticals to a degree. I've tried them and it's just not really been right for me, A lot of the experiences I've had have led me to kind of certain parts in my life where I've took dips, I've took the downward spirals in life. I've suffered some pain, some trauma, big losses in my life, and still, I don't know how, I really don't know how actually I've kept focused on thinking, right, we've got to get through this. We've got to make the next step. We've got to keep going one day at a time, And I think, when I lost my dad to suicide when I was younger, my mum had alcohol issues. And so I've always kind of felt on my own as if I've been trying to keep myself going. And then my daughter died. She died at 3 months old, and I think that was the big major point for me that kept me, thinking, right, how do I get through this, And I think I hit my most lowest points in that time. But even still, I knew I just had this inherent sense that I had to, I had to breathe. I had to breathe. I had to hold myself in this moment, and I had to keep going through it. And still, I tried kind of antidepressants at the time, and I literally lasted a week, honestly. And I just thought, this is just numbing me off everywhere, but numbing all of my emotions, not just the negative. It was numbing everything. And so, I used a lot of medicinal kind of things, a lot of exercise, just to keep me focused. And I've always been more into herbs and plant medicine and things. So, but then around when we had lockdown, I kind of got into the whole mushroom plant medicine kind of thing, in the autumn. Plant medicines that we find here in the valleys in autumn. And yeah, and so that was about 6 years ago. And I started learning and researching more about plant medicine and how that helps. And then also I had my first sound bath about 10 years ago. I started to receive sound baths, and I just loved them from the second I received my first one. And I wanted more and more, wanted to experiment with that more. So then I did my training in the Gong practitioner course. And so it's all, and then it just weirdly started to combine. I just started to mix the two. When I was practicing sometimes with my gong and my sound instruments and my bowls, and and I'd be mixing plant medicine in there, and I just thought, this works. There's something here. There is something in the two kind of modalities, mixing them together, and it was just beautiful. And I approached my friend, and she already held kind of plant medicine retreats and one-to-ones, and I said, listen, you've got to try this. And I took it to her, and she loved it. And so since then, it was just those little things, and sometimes sometimes you just don't know how things just slowly evolve from one thing to the next, and I just kind of followed things that I liked, and I just thought, go this way, things that felt good and things that kept me going and that I was interested in, and so and then from there we kind of we merged with Lush Retreats. So Sadashi, Lush Retreats, Sadashi was my friend, and that's her business. And then Lush Retreats, and then we started holding plant medicine retreats. So and then so it just kind of went like that,
Do you want to know? I think it's amazing, and thank you very much for sharing your story as well. Because like every time we share, like there's still a rawness, it's still there, and I keep repeating this with people as well. It's like healing is a journey. What happens is you almost like you'll get to a layer, and then you'll understand it. You'll put it in place. Then there'll still be triggers, but then you've built up a little bit of resiliency. But then you have a deeper awareness and a deeper awareness about yourself. And I think that's the beauty, and I think that's how when I met you, I aligned with you as well, Pam, because for all the little golden nuggets that I had followed, and by the way, they were my deepest pains. All the nuggets were my deepest pains.
That's the greatest learning.
Yeah. And I go down these wee paths and these wee rabbit holes, some fucking massive rabbit holes, going, what the fuck have I done? Why did I even start looking at that?
Yeah.
And it's you, all the time. It's like you're kind of shining up the diamond, aren't you? You're shining up the diamond in the rough, because each time it's kind of getting bigger and brighter as you become more self-aware. And by the way, it's having that mental capacity and ability to find the inner strength that's so important, and not to blame things that are going on. It's just looking at it from a sense of trying to understand and going, right, and having the resiliency and the grit to keep going and keep going. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've like the sound and the way that you play your instruments and how you merge it all together. I'm like, she's a fucking artist. Like it's just beautiful. So I want to touch on the power of sound, right? And what we do is we speak about, I go on about energy and being an energy alchemist, and turning your pain into power is
Yeah.
energy alchemy. Like, you use these words and people are going, what the fuck are you talking about, Lindsay? And I'm so then you go into the trying to make what can't be made logical, and you're getting into the kind of masculine energy side of things, trying to speak about feminine creativity and pulling that up and stepping into your gifts. In terms of the power of sound, vibration and frequency, is there any particular tone or any particular instrument that you play? Like, you've shared the gongs, balls. Is there anything that you've moved towards more from a vibrational point of view, or is it just an amalgamation of them all?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I kind of, do you know what I love? I love the kind of the ancestral sound of the drum. I love the drum. It just puts you into kind of this mode, and it just feels real. It feels raw. It feels ancestral, and it's just kind of deep and you feel it in your body, you feel it in your heart. It's beautiful. I love my gong. I absolutely love using the gong. There's certain mallets and things that you would use on the gong that create, such as things that are called flumies, and they're like the big balls, and then they create such deep kind of just beautiful tones, and combining all of these things. And there's a sense of kind of ancient wisdom with some things, with certain things, especially when you're using the Tibetan bowls and you feel like you're part of something that is not just you. It's kind of, all of these different traditions, tones and frequencies and instruments and bowls and gongs, they've been used through millennia just to create different things, through celebration and like the native, the Indians using the shamanic side with the drumming and, the Tibetan bowls and things, just everything kind of bringing in a little bit of everything. It's just, I couldn't even pick one, but probably the gong and my drum. Yeah.
So I know in working with Kundalini energy, it's quite interesting though, right? Before I go there, because I end up going off in one, right? This is right? So for me, when you're working with the drum, there's a earthiness.
Right?
Yeah. And it's we use it for grounding as well, but like it's a
that's it. I was going to say that grounding feeling.
Yeah, and it's deep, but as soon as that starts to go, like the way that it echoes, and by the way, it's not even up here it echoes, it's like around about my kind of guttish area. And that's where it all, so when you're actually tapping into the energy and the vibration of the drum, it's going straight to it. And I go on about your hara, which is the energetic space, which is tied to all the emotional baggage, storage, ancestral stuff. So when you're saying that kind of just kind of validates from the ancestral piece and the deep connection and the earthiness and getting you to the roots, because it's kind of working with your lower chakras as well. There was one instrument that you used with me as part of the ceremony that you were doing, and it was almost like a thunder.
Oh yeah.
Right, and that kind of shook me like a little bit. It was so profound though that at that point, because it was almost like a wake up. What is it you call that?
It's a thunder machine. It's to make that noise of thunder. It's like, I've got a name. What's it say? I call it a thunderbox, but I know that's what we used to call toilets back in the day. But I can't remember that. I call it a little thunder tube.
But it's so powerful, and even for the way, like when we're talking about frequency, and we are all frequency, right? We're all energy, and your emotions are energy and motion, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Is feeling the difference from one instrument to the next, within your body. Like
Yeah.
you actually feel it work all the way through your body, and it absolutely fascinates me.
Yeah, and I haven't even touched on the surface of the amount of kind of learning and even science behind, how deep you can go into. You could keep learning forever about sound, frequency, vibrations, and you would never reach the end of your learning. It's so profoundly kind of it's just a beautiful, beautiful modality. But I love how you say about the thunder tube. I like to bring in different points, and I like to bring in things that are regarded in nature. Like the thunder, the rain, the wind. I like to make shakapas, which are out of different plants and things, and so you get in the elements. I like that. I try to bring in a lot of the elements into the room, and so I'm creating that experience for you, that kind of fully immersed 3D kind of,
It's more than 3D. You feel the physicality of it,
Yeah,
but
that's it.
my experience was like from another world.
But the medicine, when you combine the two, it's just you get this, this enhanced kind of everything that just combines, doesn't it? And it's just, all of your senses are heightened. And so those two modalities, they just work so beautifully, shifting the perceptions, heightening your senses, and they are probably the two modalities I've found that just work so well together. And I think probably like yourself, we've probably dipped our toe in this modality, like I've tried Palawa, Reiki, different things, even just kind of counseling, mental health, things like that. I've tried little bits of everything, and then I found these two, and they just merged and worked together alongside each other, creating beautiful experiences for people. And I just love them, and I really enjoy bringing them to people and giving them that fully immersed experience. Like when we held Space for Yourself, I love that. I love watching people feel what I'm creating. It's not just what I'm creating, it's what they're creating as well. And I'm just helping guide that. And it's really exciting. And it's always an honor. It's always an honor, to see people's everyone has a different experience, and to see their individual processes is lovely.
And this is a thing, because even like holding stuff in a group session, before I go there, I wanted to touch on we'll never really know to the depths of what something can go. We never become an expert, because there's always different levels, and always different depths that you can go to. So for me, like when I stepped into where all my nuggets were leading me to, I was like, it's energy work, right? And I've done Reiki, I'm certified in Pamela, I've got all these things. And for me, it was when I went through my Kundalini activation, the feeling, it was the embodiment, it was the actual feeling of the energy actually moving through my body that made, I was like, what the fuck? What? Wow. But this is a thing as well. But there's always different, even in a group setting, and if you're holding space for groups, it's quite difficult. It's quite a challenge, Pam, because everybody's having their own unique experience. So for someone who's listening that's maybe never even had or experienced sound therapy, what would you say happens in a session? Because sound therapy and sound baths are two different things to me, right? You are using sounds, but I think sound baths are a wee bit more kind of surface level, like nice and relaxing. Whereas the sound therapy piece that goes on, for me, it's deeper. There's more depth. So how would you kind of define the two? And what should somebody look to expect? Because I know for sound baths, they're kind of more like known and accepted.
Yeah.
And it's deeply relaxing. But when it comes to like sound therapy, what kind of experience should somebody, I know not to have expectations, but how would you say it would feel or look like or sense like to them?
So do you mean one of kind of, so sound baths, they're just, they're for an hour, and they're really relaxing, and I think they just help to quiet that mind, and put you in that meditative state. But do you mean when they come to one of my mixed modality ones?
Yeah, your mixed one, right?
Yeah,
'Cause,
so a normal sound bath, is just kind of and that a lot of people still can reach, like a certain heightened state as well. It can, a lot of people can get really pulled into that very meditative state, and people still go on a journey with those. When you mix in the sound with the plant medicine, so the plant medicine heightens all of your senses. So your hearing, your physical. So you're feeling the vibrational frequencies of the sound of the instruments. You're feeling them more. Your hearing is heightened, and so you just and plant medicine really connects your heart to music. It is so important. And I mean, we need music. We have used music for everything, to open our emotions. I mean, have you ever been in a bad place and you listen to a sad song and you just connect to it and it helps you to cry, or it takes you to a place, it brings you back to a memory. We use it for celebration, for commiseration, for loss, for love, for marriage, for all of it. And so plant medicine really connects to the music, and it's like you feel it on every level: physical, spiritual, mental, all of it. And so when the two are combined, it's just, you get that kind of spiritual connection. All your different neurons are working, wiring and firing together, while your senses are so heightened. You're feeling the physical vibrations through your body. And then when we bring in the music, the soundtrack as well, alongside the sound instruments, such as the gong, the bowls, the drum, rain sticks, shakapers, all of that stuff. We bring in music as well, and it helps to guide your journey. We use different kind of songs, different melodies, different genres, different vibes, frequencies, just all of it. And then and it just brings it into the room, and you feel like you're part of the melody, and it takes you on that journey as well, and it guides you. And so for some people that might be nervous, it's just they find the solace and the love and in the music, and it's like, oh, and they go with that, and sometimes they can just let go, and just let themselves flow with the songs and the music. It's really lovely to watch.
And I think you've said that beautifully as well, because your hands just kept going, and I'm like, it opens up your heart, and it's like you become everything and nothing all at the same time. It's like you're just like part of the ether of everything that's going on around about you. But I think like a lot of the fear comes from, it's the unknown, right? And even, it doesn't even have to be in plant medicine. It's like even mindset work. People fear getting into doing mindset work because they don't want to show their vulnerabilities, because they don't want to be honest. They don't want to be honest with themselves, because they don't want to meet themselves, to face the shadow that is kind of holding them back. And then it's that when you let that go, how do you fill that back up? Because I think there's no spiritual bypassing in anything that you're doing. And if you're coming in and thinking that you're just going to get this, there's going to be something else that it's going to show you. Where, you might, But I think there's just a lot of fear-based information that's out there. And I keep saying to people as well, like, everything's experiential. Like, and because it's such an individual thing as well, my experience is different for your experience, is different for somebody else's experience. And it's even the same when you talk about history. There's no history book where there's any truth in actual anything that's been said, because it's based on the perception of the people that's actually sharing the information at that time. And that's their truth, not somebody else's truth. But for me, it's trying it on and getting rid of the ego, like, and it's not that you're not in control, you're absolutely in control as well. And I think it ripples, like that fear ripples through everything that we try to do in holistic and complementary and alternative therapies. And I'm just like, there's this huge movement just now. We are like, even if you watch Gaia, like there's loads of people that have done different things and tried on different things. So I'm appreciative of the fact that we do have these platforms now where we can start to open up and actually talk about what these are and share their experiences. It's not to say come and do it, but try it on, at least try it on. So,
but I think a lot of these things were stigmatized, and I think we're starting to come out of that era. I know when I was growing up, you know, I mean, a lot of things have been villainized, and you know, in the media and things. And even when I was growing up, I think I had my first set of tarot cards, right? Just tarot cards when I was about 15, you know, but I wouldn't have shown anybody that. I wouldn't have opened up, you know. I had to put on kind of. I grew up in a big town, you know, so I had to be the same as everybody else when I was younger. I couldn't really tell anyone that I thought, you know, that I kind of believed in spirit and things like that. And back then when I was a kid, you know, I didn't really know why. I knew all this weird shit, you know. I just thought it was a bit weird, and I wasn't the same as everybody else. So yeah, and then there's a lot of stigma, and there's a lot of villainization of, you know, a lot of things, you know, and so there's a fear factor, but like I'm just loving this kind of awakening that's going on now. You know, the veil is being lifted, and it's like we're coming back to this era of self-discovery. And what the hell have we been doing all this time? Who the hell are we, and how the hell do we fix this shit? And it's beautiful, you know. It's really lovely to watch, and I'm enjoying seeing it in my own girls. You know, they're teenagers now, and they come out with some stuff, and I just watch them and I smile, because I think, bloody hell, how would have been that age? Where the hell did you get that from? You know, so it's really, isn't it a special time to be witnessing?
I think what it is as well, it's a really nice time that we're actually part of it. And, and likewise, Pam, like, never fitting in. We're never meant to fit in. We don't know. We didn't know that. But like, exactly. how many more people around about your age would have have had a tarot deck and then not shared that they'd done it, right? And how many other people felt like they didn't fit in but didn't want to say, I don't fit in?
Exactly.
And we were all good. So what I'm loving just now is about the openness, and it's people now just coming together and sharing and opening up to all of this stuff. And it's not even just about the heavy stuff or the trauma. And I try to bring a bit of lightness to trauma. And even when we're speaking about emotions, right, and all the fucking shitty emotions that you go through, they serve a purpose in our life, because without going through that pain, you wouldn't get to see the other side of it. Like, but it's just getting out of the blaming everything that's going on around about you for why you're kind of stuck where you are. So it's almost like stepping into your power. And then you've got the warriors that are out there and they're flying the flags, and it's prevalent, as you say, because kids are more just emotionally open and challenging, by the way. like really challenging, like the way that you think, and even challenging the way that you're acting. I mean, when we were younger, if I challenged my papa, I'd get hit with a poker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
it's even as parents, it's been able to hold that space to allow them the freedom of speech and the freedom to share, and again, sharing their emotions as well, like being emotionally available to hold the space
And
for your kids.
we And we have to kind of be comfortable in ourselves as well to be able to hold that space for them, because there's times, when you're going to hear something and kind of like, the old 80s version in your head is going, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Do I punish? But, it's allowing them that freedom to be human as well. And I think, and just to screw shit up sometimes, because the quickest way to learn what you want or how to do things is to do it all wrong first. It's
Absolutely.
experiences and consequences is how we bloody learn. We don't learn through other people's words, and
Yeah.
we can guide as best as we can, and we can, like, I don't think that's a good idea, but people are gonna, and I'm like that, unfortunately. I can go to people and they'll be like, Pam, that's not a very good idea. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll be like, yeah, you were right. But,
That,
we learn by screwing shit up and not being afraid to make these mistakes, because there's just no such thing as a mistake. It's serendipity, you never know what's going to come of this action, even if it feels shit at the time. And it's like you're saying, finding that power in your pain. And sometimes you don't get to that. And sometimes it takes a long time, because Christ, isn't hindsight a beautiful thing? It's a shame, we can only see
is.
things, we can only see the kind of connect the dots by looking back. We can't see the dots by looking forward, can we? And we can't connect by looking forward. But it's learning to look at all of the things that you've been through and finding that power in your pain, and and keeping yourself going forward and thinking, well, do you know what? If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be this. I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have learned this. I wouldn't be so resilient and powerful and you don't sweat the small stuff sometimes when you've got some powerful, deep learning. And that's where we learn. We learn in the dark. We don't learn in the sunshine and butterflies all the time. It's like we need our dark, deep, that, and a lot of people call it depression. There's a guy, what's he called? He calls it deep rest, not depressed. It's deep rest.
Ah, how
Deep
nice.
rest.
How nice is that?
Yeah, isn't it? And it takes the emphasis on depressed, but it's your body's going into that kind of winter mode, and it's doing it for a reason. And it's pulling you down, and it's pulling you slow, and it's introvert, and it's slow, and sometimes it's painful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy. Sometimes, I've had to cling on for dear life at times, and but yeah, it's just trying to change that perspective of looking at everything and learning forgiveness for yourself, for things that we've done, for paths that we've taken. But everything ultimately is led to who we are and where we are, and the people that we've got in our lives is all by every tiny, intricate little step that we've experienced and been through. And it's finding that power,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And do you want to know what's interesting as well, Pam, when you say that? Because it's having the ability for you to actually be able to reflect back, right? And taking the accountability to be able to say, sorry, but sometimes, like when you're going through the depth of your own darkness,
Yeah.
there's nobody really else that can help pull you out either. It's something that your soul's calling, like for you to, as much as what people can try and be there and help you, ultimately, the pull through and the breakthrough is through your own actions. But sometimes it's really, really painful, because you want to be able to help pull people through. And that's why we're all doing what we're doing, but they've got to take the steps. You can't take a horse to water. You can't lead a horse to water and make it drink, But
You can't. We can guide and we can hold space for people, and we can say, listen, I can't. We can just sit in the mud with them, just to sit, just for people to sometimes just to feel heard, and just be everything. Your feelings are valid. I hear you, and it's not even to offer advice at times. To say sometimes we don't want someone to come to us and say you should be doing this. No one likes you know, it's just to have someone just to sit next to you sometimes and just sit in the mud with you when you're feeling that kind of in that place. And no, people are here to experience their own journey. And if we pick everybody up all the time and just be like, right, and I've done it, I've been the people pleaser, I've been the people saver, and I've been like, you know, carrying everyone over my shoulder. And it's silly because I had to step back from a lot of people in my life and look at myself as well and think, hang on, why am I so busy putting all my energy into everybody else when I'm actually getting run down and exhausted? But people are here to experience their own highs, their own lows, and I can't save everybody from that. And I'm not meant to, you know, they're here and people will experience their own personal journeys, and it's for them to take the steps. And I say to my girls sometimes, I'm like, feel how you feel, have a day. If you need a duvet day, have a duvet day. Feel how you feel. Get into bed and say, today I feel like shit. Today I don't want to look at the world. I say, but you know, don't stay there too long.
But it's today.
Yeah.
And you hit it on the head. Today I feel like shit. It's not I feel like shit. You're not identifying as this is who you are and who you are. Just even with the Reiki, like the Reiki affirmations, just for today. And by the way, just for today, it's okay for me to feel like shit. But see, tomorrow I'm not. And even just that
suppress.
Yeah. But I love that. Like that, see that wee golden nugget you just gave there as well. Deep rest. Right?
Yeah,
now,
deep rest. Foster it is.
Wow, that's fucking great. But I was at a networking event today, and we were like, I've heard about seasons and working through the seasons and seasons in business and seasons in personal life, and it is that. But it's actually like, and again, you touched on it. You become a prisoner of the past. Right? Like even if you need deep rest, it's to become present.
Yeah.
Just to become present. And then you've not got the anxiety of the future either. It's just to just have that moment of deep rest. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Takes the negative emphasis on it off it, doesn't it? When you say, okay, my body's in a season here. We're just in a little bit of winter. So just respect how, if your body's feeling like that, if you're feeling the whispers, just listen to the whispers a little bit, you know?
Yeah. But this is a struggle, right? And we could go on about this forever, and I'm not going to transgress, right? But it's when you're living in an environment or a system, you're not allowed to have that moment where you can go into deep rest. You can't just phone and say, I'm having a duvet day. I think there has been some shifts and some movements because there is a big push in mental health, and especially in even corporate environments. But again, it's just surface level stuff that they're getting to, but they are taking some steps. But I'm not going down that road. We can have another session on that, right? So what I wanted to ask you, in terms of instruments and frequencies, are there certain instruments that you would attach with kind of anxiety or fear, or do you just kind of merge them all for any energetic blocks? Like, is there anything that people could maybe try on if we want to get specific and niche it down, that somebody can't get out of like high states of anxiety all the time, right? So we know we can use breath work, we know we can use meditation and stuff like that. But is there any particular instrument that you would suggest that people may want to kind of?
Do you know, it's personal, I think, and there's so much conflict in information, honestly. And I won't even pretend to know the kind of the ins and outs on every single frequency wave out there, you know, hertz and on all of it. And it's so conflicting. Sometimes you'll hear that there's a certain hertz and frequency wave for your chakras, for the root, and all the way up. And then you'll hear things that just say, no, it's hearsay. I personally think what resonates with you personally, what sound, what's something that pulls you in. For instance, I like my drum. I can sit with my drum and I can kind of get lost in that. I like my gong. I like some of the certain instruments certain things that I use with my gong, and that I can sit with that for a long time. I think it's a personal preference. I love the bowls. Some people can sit with, you know, a Himalayan bowl and just ringing that. pull them into. But I think it's just try, and I know it's difficult because it's not like you can walk into a supermarket and all of the stuff is there for you to try. It's hard. But if you ever go to a sound bath, start experimenting, go to different sound baths, different sound journeys, and just think, wow. And that's what I do. I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that sound.
Yeah.
That works,
Yeah.
and just trying to experience a different sound that fits for you with different kind of vibration, because I think we all work on different levels, and what fits one might not fit another. And it's just.
And I suppose that's the beauty of the sound bath, because you get to experience all the different instruments all at the one time. So it's really not even just waiting for relaxation, like to get to a place of relaxation. If there is something that's maybe triggering you, or if there is something that's going on in your life, it's actually going along to some of these things. I keep saying all the time as well, like, we're not alone. And we've trying to do coffee mornings now, where we can just sit and shoot the breeze and just talk about fucking daily shit in life, and see if there's patterns that's emerging with people, and obviously then opening up and offering out space for them to come and try on different things. But if there's one key message that I want to share with everybody, is you are not alone, and there are lots of different things other than what you would get over a counter to help you trying to make sense of what it is that's going on and get you pulled out the other end. Pam, has there been anything in particular with your combined, like your sound therapy and the plant medicine, where there's been like massive shifts in people's relationships, health, or creativity?
Yes, like all of those. It's so beautiful to watch. Like, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't even pick one. And whenever we hold the retreats, we stay in touch in the group chats, and I watch how people are. So the latest group chat, I was in Wales on the weekend, and the latest group chat, I see the pictures of people are like starting the gym again, and like, hi guys, I'm just back in the gym after a year off. And so things like that, there's a lot of people have emotional releases, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We cry. I've cried before. Also, I'm going to have to get my charger. I'm going to move you with me. But having those emotional releases are beautiful, because like we were saying before, the amount of time we suppress energy, we suppress our emotions because we don't have time, to cry. We've got to go to work. Bear with me. I do apologise. All that. So the sound therapy and the kind of the plant medicine, they just give that little bit of a shake and a little struggle of all our emotions and things, and they just bring them to the surface. And sometimes people get scared of that, but a lot of the time people just release those tears that they didn't have time to cry, and they feel beautiful. It's an emotional release, because it's a beautiful release, and it feels like you just take a breath and you say, oh God, that was lovely.
So I had an emotional release, but it wasn't even an emotional release that I was sad. It was an actual bliss.
Emotion. Yeah, that's it.
It wasn't even like crying because I was hurt or something bad had come up. It was crying because it was so fucking beautiful.
Exactly. That's it.
And even in some of the sessions that we have, even with Kundalini activation as well, is like they're intense. Like people come along, and in group settings you've got to be prepared, because some people will shout, some people will scream, some people will laugh, some people will cry. But it's trying to make sure that you're just having, and I think you handled that relatively well, because even with the stuff that was going on with me, and like, you were able to navigate the sound around the other people so that they weren't necessarily getting caught up with what it was that I was going through as well. But
it's tricky when people, especially, and then I think that's why it was really nice for that session that we had there, that it ended up being really small. It was supposed to be bigger, but it was a little bit smaller in the end, and it just worked so well. And so could have your own personal, experience and journey, and I could allow you to relax into that as well, instead of being a bit bossy. But that's what was nice about it, was that you just were free to express yourself because it was so quiet. But a lot of people some people like quiet, some people like to move and dance. There's a lot of people that just want to start moving. People's hands just come alive. And there's some people that, they need to have their own personal kind of release, because sometimes we just don't have that space. So when they have those couple of hours and they're with me, it's like that permission to say, this moment's for you, and you can let go of those things that you've been holding on to.
And it's such a gift. It's such a gift, Pam. Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I'll ask you, I'm going to say, look, people can get in contact with you. You have your Instagram page as well, if they want to follow. Yeah. There's retreats that you do. And I'm going to have you up here at the hub as well. So if there is anyone that's interested, you can reach out to Pam directly. I don't know if Kevin's still there, but I'll make sure that your information is shared as well, Pam.
Thank you.
But is there anything else, like any leaving message that you would want to leave for people before we close this session?
On the spot like that, I don't know. Just so. Well, we've taken note of what you were talking about today, turning power into pain. Just kind of, if you're in that place, just know that kind of every experience that you've had before has led to where you are, who you are, and you'll always be able to look back and take power from that. So even if you're going through another, difficult time or moment in your life that doesn't feel so bloody great, just know that in future you're going to be able to look back on that and think, thank God I didn't give up then.
Yeah, and I think second time today I've heard it is we all go through seasons, and by the way, you could go through these, you could go through the seasons, all of them in one day. So and I'm going to actually use that deep rest. So just be still with yourself and allow yourself
Perfect,
to
isn't it?
I love it. Beautiful rest and digest. So Kevin, I don't know if you're there, if there's anybody that's got any questions for Pam. We may not have questions just now, but there may be some things that come up.
There's no questions right now.
No, none so far. Okay. So, well, Pam, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being with us as well. And I can't wait to kind of get you exposed to more people at the hub, or other people exposed to you at the hub as well.
Thank you. So, thank you. So well, I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. See you soon, darling. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye, love.